TechAssure is a not-for-profit association headquartered in North Carolina. It has a network consisting of 30 retail brokerages servicing over 5,000 technology and life science clients globally. I'm Yvette Essen for CyberCube, and I'm joined by TechAssure Executive Director Garrett Droege. He's here to tell me about some of the key topics being discussed by brokerage clients in his network. Garrett, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell me, first of all, a little bit about TechAssure? Can you describe yourself and some of the kind of things that you're doing at the moment?
Sure. So TechAssure is a global broker network. It's brokers that specialize in serving what we call the innovation ecosystem. So that would be companies in information technology, life science, medical technology, could be venture capital, private equity, advanced manufacturing, or technology risks for every other industry, which better known as cyber. So our members all over the world, and the purpose of TechAssure is really just to accelerate the transfer of knowledge from one brokerage to the next. Really, what works in London will work in Boston and San Francisco and everywhere else around the world. So it's really just about sharing the best practices and IP.
You mentioned that you have people in your network around the world. Can you explain some of the countries that they're based in and the regions?
Sure. So TechAssure has members in most major technology and life science hubs globally. So wherever there's a healthy tech economy, that's where you'll typically find TechAssure members. So certainly throughout North America, we have broad representation, Europe, Southeast Asia, Australia. The ultimate vision of TechAssure is to have a member in every major tech hub globally. So, got a few more to go, but we're certainly well populated.
That's quite a vision. But in terms of this geographical diversity, does this mean that the trends are different, the concerns are different for brokers, or are there some common threads across the regions?
Yeah, there's certainly some common threads between our members. I'd say technology-related risk and cyber risk, that's something that all of our members do quite a bit of. And the technology industry is a global industry in itself. And so the issues are very similar globally in that sector. Depending on where the member is, there could be maybe a life science cluster nearby, and that firm does more of that medical technology type business, or in some cases, there's a healthy manufacturing economy, which manufacturing's undergoing a technology revolution over the past few years. It operates largely more like a tech industry does today than it did, maybe 10 years ago. So there are some geographical variants, but for the through line is absolutely tech and cyber.
Can you tell me, what are the common concerns that some of your brokers are having and talking to you about at the moment?
Well, I think, really over the last 5 years, especially, cyber has been the fastest growing concern for all industries, not just information technology. It's such an evolving risk. The pure tech and life science risks haven't changed all that much in the last decade, but cyber has evolved really on a monthly, if not weekly basis sometimes. So staying on that bleeding edge of what's happening in the space, what kinds of claims are occurring, how can you provide the best advice to a client who has potentially significant cyber exposure. So that's certainly in the top 80% of what TechAssure talks about these days.
You recently partnered with CyberCube buying our Broking Manager product. Can you talk to me a little bit about the rationale behind that purchase? What does it help you solve?
Yeah, so, our members go beyond simply the transaction of cyber insurance. They really are very, very focused on risk management and providing their clients the absolute best in advice. And so TechAssure, this is our 21st year. So we've been specializing in cyber risks for decades. So it's an area from an insurance standpoint we know very well. But we look to provide tools to our members and their clients that help them really understand their cyber risk profiles and make better decisions when they're placing their cyber insurance program. Cyber insurance is a relatively juvenile market. There's a lot of companies out there, more and more each day. And so being able to properly understand which of those companies might be appropriate for a certain type of insured, very, very critical. From CyberCube's standpoint, I'm really impressed with the tool. I think it's really helpful in terms of providing some details that aren't as available to a lot of brokers, especially with regard to peer data. So understanding what your peers might be transferring in their risk, that's incredibly helpful from a retail broker standpoint.
Finally, can I ask you about the year ahead and our period ahead? What do you think will be the key issues and topics that your brokers talk about in your network?
So I think CyberCube plays really, really nicely in what I think is coming, whereas cyber insurance has not operated quite like the rest of the insurance industry to date, and what I mean by that is there was very little underwriting that happened in the cyber insurance space. It was relatively easy to get fairly significant limits of cyber insurance. That's starting to change the last 12 to 18 months. The claims that have occurred, much more frequent, much more severe, and you've got insurance carriers, including a lot of TechAssures industry partners, that are pulling back on their capacity. They're really starting to take a look at individual companies' cyber risks, their proactive approach to managing that risk. And a tool like CyberCube can be really, really helpful in the underwriting process to help both the underwriter as well as the broker understand which of the companies are doing things really well and which companies have a ways to go. And that'll help a carrier allocate their limit and capacity, and it'll help a broker position their clients better in front of insurance companies who are finally starting to take a look at individual cyber risk. So I think that's going to be a really hot topic over the next 12 months. I've had a number of conversations with carriers that have said, yeah, we're absolutely going to start using tools like this to determine where we grant coverage and where we don't. So that's definitely something we're going to be talking about.
Garrett, thank you very much for your time and explaining that. More information about our product broking manager and our relationship with TechAssure can be found on our website, cybercube.com. For CyberCube, I'm Yvette Essen.